The new video of acclimatization. Now, what is acclimatization? Acclimatization basically we will study, but before it, we will understand one story so it will be easier to understand what is acclimatization. Now, there's a man, so he is a mountain climber who has done various mountain climbing earlier, so he knows everything about mountain climbing. Now, he is climbing one mountain, but he travels very slowly, like he takes days to travel on the mountain. He can take hours to travel, but rather he take days. So in layman's terms, some people will say he conserves energy to travel the mountain, but the scientific reason behind it is acclimatization. So in acclimatization, basically acclimatization, remember what keyword. Acclimatization is basically changes. Okay, this is the keyword. Now what changes? Now tell me, when the altitude increases, so the oxygen concentration decreases. Okay, so it will be more tough to breathe the oxygen. So if we like uh, climb the mountain rapidly, so it will become more tough to breathe the oxygen. So rather, if we walk slowly or travel slowly on the mountain, it will be more easier to take the oxygen. Now, by this story, we understood acclimatization is changes. What are the changes? So, the changes that occur in the body as a person climbs a mountain slowly. So he can withstand the low O2 concentration. So the keywords are changes, okay, then slowly, yes, and low O2 concentration, withstand low O2 concentration. So this whole scenario, the whole process is known as acclimatization. Now, why does this acclimatization or these changes occur? So basically there are three reasons, okay, why this acclimatization occur. Acclimatization occur because as we go to higher altitudes, the PCO2, partial pressure of CO2, increases. Okay, due to this, the H plus concentration will increase in the body. Okay, and PO2 decreases. So the PO2 decreases, okay, PCO2 increases. Since the PCO2 increases, the H plus concentration in the body will increases, which will cause respiratory acidosis. PCO2 increase in PCO2 will cause respiratory acidosis, and H plus concentration will increase in the body. So these are the reasons why acclimatization occurs to compensate these mechanisms. Now, the first manifestation. What will be the first manifestation of climbing a mountain? So basically, first manifestations of climbing a mountain, what will be observed if we are climbing a mountain, and if we travel slowly, or at a moderate speed, a brisk walk, so what will happen? Yes, so hypoxia will occur. The person will feel breathlessness. Okay, so this is one of the most important word we should remember in acclimatization, hypoxia. Okay, so in layman's term, it means breathlessness. So if a patient comes to you, or if you are climbing a mountain, and if somebody feels breathlessness, so it might be acclimatization. The changes are occurring. Okay, now Hypoxia is the first manifestation, the first physical manifestation. Okay, so now what happens in the acclimatization? The first and the foremost change should be physical. Okay, like we try to compensate. So how we try to compensate? We try to breathe more deeply, more deeply. So what it is called, it is known as increase in pulmonary ventilation. So basically we are trying to breathe as much oxygen as we can, because the partial pressure of O2 is decreased, partial pressure of CO2 is increased. So we try to take as much O2 as we can, so the pulmonary ventilation will increase. And why this pulmonary ventilation will increase? As at the first there is low O2 concentration. Okay, this low O2 concentration, remember we have done the chemoreceptors. So we have central and peripheral chemoreceptor, and the peripheral chemoreceptor, what does that peripheral chemoreceptor did? Yes, the peripheral chemoreceptor basically sensed the decreased O2 concentration. So peripheral O2 concentration will be sensed by the chemoreceptor. Peripheral O2 chemoreceptor. Yes. So the decrease in O2 concentration will be sensed by peripheral O2 chemoreceptor, and it will further lead to increase pulmonary ventilation for increase oxygen demand. Now, increase in pulmonary ventilation will cause, like, the oxygen will come inside. Okay, it will come inside and will go to the alveoli. So what happens is, with time, the surface area of the alveoli, let me just, like, what should I do? Yes, just a second. What happens is, the alveoli, like, this is the normal alveoli, and after acclimatization the alveoli becomes like this. So automatically the surface area will increase. Which will cause increase diffusing capacity. Okay, the diffusing capacity or the tissue perforation of the oxygen will increase, which will cause more oxygen to enter the alveoli, to enter the circulation and further to the cells. Okay, so oxygen is supplied more to the cells by this mechanism. So pulmonary ventilation increases and diffusing capacity increases. Now talking about the heart. Okay, we talked about the lungs, we talked about the alveoli. Now we will talk about the heart. So now what happens is, due to low O2 concentration, the increased CO2 concentration in the body, the vasomotor center. Okay, let me just write it here. The vasomotor center, basically the vasomotor center is stimulated. Okay, so what happens is, it will stimulate the heart, and then positive inotropic effect, and then increase cardiac output. Therefore we can say the increased cardiac output will deliver more blood to the peripheral tissues, and peripheral tissues will get more oxygen in less time, and then tissue perforation increases in the tissues, the peripheral tissues, more oxygen will be delivered to the tissues. This increased cardiac output is short-lived. Means, why it is short-lived? Let me just write it here. Short-lived. Let me just highlight it. I will explain why it is short-lived. Okay, it is due to increased hematocrit. So what is why the hematocrit is increasing? I will explain it in just a few minutes. Okay, just keep it here. Due to increased hematocrit, we will go ahead. Now what is this structure? Okay, so this is a blood vessels. So remember, in acclimatization, angiogenesis will occur. So what does angiogenesis will cause? Angiogenesis basically increase in blood vessels, for increasing the formation of blood vessels. So the blood vessels will increase, and then more oxygen is carried via the blood vessels to the tissue. Okay, so angiogenesis will occur. Now what is this structure? This structure is the bone marrow. So what happens is, the bone marrow will get stimulated, okay, due to like less oxygen, okay, hypoxia. Just a second, we will make a flow chart for this. Due to hypoxia, the bone marrow gets stimulated, okay. Stimulation of bone marrow will cause erythropoiesis. Yes, okay, erythropoiesis, and this erythropoiesis will further cause increase hemoglobin, and then it will cause increase O2 to tissues. Now this is important, erythropoiesis. What is erythropoiesis? Formation of new blood cells. Okay, so formation of new blood cells, the blood cells will increase in number, okay, so the hematocrit increases. Yes, and we have stopped here in the heart. Due to hematocrit, we have written increase in cardiac output. So tell me one thing, if the cells increase in number, okay, rather than the plasma, if the cells increase in number, so the cardiac output will automatically decrease due to increased peripheral vascular resistance, okay. So therefore increase in peripheral vascular resistance will cause the cardiac output to decrease, but the O2 flow to the tissues will remain normal, okay, like it is basically a compensatory mechanism, so the O2 to the tissues will remain normal. Coming to this graph, so what is this graph? Yes, this is the O2 dissociation curve. Now tell me one thing, what conditions we have? So we have conditions like increase in CO2, increasing H plus concentration, then what we have, like if these two conditions are there, so we have increasing 2,3-DPG, okay, because of these two condition, and we have decreased oxygen, okay, so due to decreased oxygen 2,3-DPG also increases. So what does this signs or these conditions denote? So these conditions denote that the O2 dissociation curve should be shifted to right. Now tell me one thing, like this is a very logical concept, but tell me one thing, this, like this graph is a sigmoid shape graph, and this is the saturation, okay, this is the saturation, 100% saturation, okay, this is the saturation, and here it is pressure of oxygen, okay. Now tell me one thing, if it, like the oxygen pressure is the pressure of the oxygen in the blood is decreasing, okay, at a certain point it will hit 80%, for example here it is something 80%, okay, so 80%, what will happen at this 80%? So basically there will be a rapid fall after 80%. So to avoid this rapid fall, okay, to avoid this rapid fall, the graph is shifted to the right, okay. So basically if there is a increased hydrogen ion concentration, increased CO2 concentration, increase 2,3-BPG, and also there is one condition, increase in temperature will cause the O2 dissociation curve to the right, and the reverse condition, like if there is a decreased hydrogen ions, if there is an increased CO2, increased temperature, increased BPG, the graph will be shifted to left, okay. Now coming to the last manifestation, this manifestation. What is this? So these are the cells which were we talking about since so long. Cells, tissues we were talking about. So now what happens in these cells? So what are these structures? Okay, just a second. What are these structures? These structures, okay, this yellowish and reddish structure. So basically these are the mitochondria. In the mitochondria we can see changes like increase we can see increase cellular oxidative enzymes, then what else we can see in the cellular level? So we can see that there is a increase, just a second, let me draw this, increase cellular perfusion. So increased cellular perfusion will basically cause more O2 to enter the cell easily, and uptake of O2 will be easier, and then the oxidation of like various foodstuffs in the cells can be achieved, and energy can be gained very easily due to increased cellular perfusions. So these were some changes like in acclimatization what occurs. So summarizing the whole topic, first manifestation in acclimatization is hypoxia. What is acclimatization? Acclimatization is basically the changes that occur in the body when a person travels from the lower altitude to much higher altitude. Okay, then first manifestation we saw hypoxia, which presents as breathlessness. Then we saw effects on the lungs, the alveoli. What effects are on the lungs? Pulmonary ventilation increases. What are the effects on alveoli? Increase in diffusing capacity due to increasing surface area. Then what is on the heart? Due to vasomotor center stimulation, we see inotropic effect, increased cardiac output, but it is short-lived due to increase in hematocrit. Why the hematocrit is increasing? Because the bone marrow is stimulated due to hypoxia. It causes erythropoiesis, and erythropoiesis means there is increase in red blood cells. So increase in red blood cells will further cause the increasing peripheral vascular resistance will oppose the flow of the blood, and therefore the cardiac output decreases, but the oxygen delivery remains normal. Then we saw angiogenesis, okay, which will further cause increased blood flow. Then we saw the effect on the O2 dissociation curve, the conditions which causes the O2 dissociation curve to the right. Then we saw the prolonged effect. Let me just, I have not mentioned, this is the prolonged effect. So in which people we see prolonged effect? Yes, the residents of higher altitude. And we saw the cellular modification. What does the cells do? It increases the amount of mitochondrial enzymes, the cellular oxidative enzymes. We also saw that the cellular perfusion or the permeability of the cell membrane increases, which causes easier O2 uptake. And with this we wrap up the topic. Thank you.